Life doesn't always turn out as we think it will. When Kathleen Callahan first took co-ownership of Xpertech Auto Repair in Engelwood, Florida in 2003, she didn't expect to be the sole owner only 6 years later. Nor did she foresee herself taking the fight for repair and consumer rights to the national stage. But while she's committed to securing the future for all automotive repairers, she's especially concerned with creating a community of female support within the industry so that other women who find themselves suddenly entrenched in the business don't have to suffer the same feeling of overwhelm that she did. All right, Kathleen, how would you sum up the state of the industry in one sentence?
Advancing at record speeds.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, I think we can imagine or see that that is so, but how do you see that from your end?
So from the technology and a purchaser standpoint, I think we're advancing with a lot of safety technology, and it's the race towards driverless vehicles, right? As terrifying as many of us find that, and as comforting, it'll fill a giant need, right? Especially, look, again, I'm in a predominantly senior community. So once people have lost their ability to drive, and we don't have a ton of rideshare where I'm at, so to have driverless rideshare, I think that will be really, really cool thing. But from my business hat back on, we have to learn how to fix this technology. And as you know, the information is not readily forthcoming from the manufacturers. So being able to stay up with as fast as the technology is advancing. I mean, look at what happens when you get a new cell phone after 3 years. Your car is advancing even faster than that. So I think rapidly advancing technology is both a great thing and a giant challenge.
Okay. And so what do you think the repair industry is doing right, and what could it be doing better at this point?
I think the repair industry is focusing on, at least what I'm exposed to. I see a lot of, from the shop level, I see a lot of people looking to service clients better, and it's not just a money grab. It's not, we're really shifting that image of the industry as a whole, technicians and specialists and service advisors and even dealerships, right? They're kind of in the same game we are. Most of them are privately owned as well. They're just tied to the manufacturer. I think we're doing a good job at raising our image. Obviously, we're doing a better job at bringing in a more diverse workforce. But I think we could do better at training and bringing in more, I'm going to say women, I'm always going to lead towards bringing more women in. I mean, look at like the Industrial Revolution and World War II, and what was the solve? We brought women in. And that really obviously was the beginning of the real women's workforce. But if it was the answer then, why wouldn't that be the answer now? So I think we're getting better at that. And I think that the industry is working hard at elevating our image.
Yeah. So, all right. So you talk about, bringing more women in, a more diverse workforce. Obviously, we all know about the technician shortage. How do we help, maybe alleviate that tech shortage by bringing in more women? How does that work?
What is the first thing that popped into my head may not be the most popular opinion, but I think we need to really, really start to examine how we treat our workforce. And not just women coming in, women technicians. It is brutal in this industry to be a female technician. They're not treated well, they're not respected for their knowledge. So maybe in some cases, the physical inconsistencies between a male technician and a woman technician, a male technician might be a little stronger, like, upper end stronger. Okay, let's put that aside. What if we're smaller? We can get into places. We're creative, with navigating. I mean, I live on my own and navigate running an entire home and a shop. So the level of creativity I think that women bring in to the industry, I think is massive. As technicians, They have to be respected. But that's not just women, right? We have a lot of male technicians that I've seen try to enter and leave the industry that aren't the typical personality of a male. So I think being more accepting and tolerant of the differences of people, I think we have a giant leap there that the industry as a whole really needs to work on. But really just not looking at this industry as a male-dominated industry anymore. The longer we continue to call it that, the longer it's going to continue to be that. That barrier to entry for anybody, especially women, and women of color especially, right? Like you can dig deeper and deeper at that barrier and how hard it makes it. So to be more accepting of and welcoming, really, of women and diverse people in the industry, I think is someplace we could really work hard towards.
And so, what you were talking about earlier, that, we don't have to just improve how we treat women technicians, but all technicians. What do you think is a step there that owners or, shop owners, business owners can do to elevate them or, make them feel like they have a special place at their place of employment?
The easy answer is not to tolerate shenanigans, right? Don't tolerate poor behaviors from people who were brought up differently. If we don't teach people to speak differently, to act differently, to talk differently, and to respect each other, it's never going to change. And it starts with the owner. I don't tolerate that kind of stuff in my shop. I used to have a female technician, and bless if she sees this, she could come back tomorrow and I would hire her again. Her aptitude, and she was young, so her skill level wasn't, she wasn't an A technician, but her aptitude was through the roof. Absolutely through the roof. Great sense of humor. She loved to joke around and have a good time, but really wanted to learn, right? So I don't tolerate, I did not and would not, it didn't really occur, but I would never tolerate somebody to speak down to her based on her gender or any other things that come with her, right? Now, if you want to joke around about her ability or, she tripped and fell over something or she dropped a tool, same as you would give anybody else a hard time to joke about, I'm okay with that, but there's a level and there's a clear line. And I think that starts with the leadership. I don't allow it without we don't have any of that kind of, shift in diversity in our group right now, but we have in the past, and it's absolutely not allowed. So that starts with leadership, and then it trickles down through the culture of the shop. And so if the leader doesn't stop any kind of malicious behavior, then it's allowed to grow and manifest. So it really does start with the leadership and making people aware that it's just not okay.
And so do you think perhaps another barrier to, getting people interested in this industry, maybe is it still the conception that, these are mechanics, it's dirty, versus technicians, that's a better sounding word there. Is there something more we could be calling them, or, making them feel like they're more than just, doing a dirty job or something?
Yeah, they're not grease monkeys anymore, right? They're not that dirty, greasy grime all over their face technician, mechanic, grease monkey anymore. That's not what our industry is. Think about it. We are competing with people like Google and Microsoft and all of those big tech companies for the same candidate. We're programming more and more modules. We're doing, unfortunately, we're doing less mechanical work because brakes are lasting 100,000 miles now, as opposed to 30,000 miles. Spark plugs, 120,000 miles, not 30,000 miles, right? Fluids are starting to last 70, 80, 90, 100,000 miles. So we're not looking for that. Yeah, we are looking for that person, but we're looking for the same candidate that the tech companies want, that can get on a laptop. That's your most expensive tool now, right? And your most powerful tool is the computers and the laptop. So We need the generations that understand and grew up with that technology in their hands. And now we're asking them to lift heavy tires, get dirty, change timing belts and radiators and really gross things, right? We're asking them to be techie, work in the heat, and lift and get dirty. So what can we do? Well, we can treat them with more respect and respect their knowledge. You're not a mechanic anymore. We tried technician, and in the industry, I think we're very good about that. But the consumers did not really pick up the difference, right? Sometimes you think of technician as like a lab technician or so the white coat doesn't really go with us, right? So I think there is a movement, I did not create it, but there's a movement to begin to call people specialists. I have an alignment specialist. I have a brake specialist, right? I have a programming specialist or an electrical specialist. Do I think that it's gonna elevate in a gigantic way? Not at first, but look at the restaurant industry. If you're a cook or you're a chef, how do you feel? You have the same job. Are you a cook or are you a chef? I think a cook makes $15 an hour. I think a chef makes $45 an hour. They could have the same level of education, experience, and talent. But how do you feel, right? So I think we have a lot of room to grow as an industry. And again, that falls on the responsibility of me and my ownership and my leadership to begin to elevate the way that I respect and educate my customers and my clients on, well, I'm gonna turn this over to my alignment specialist or my tire specialist, because let's be honest, nobody, like I said earlier, nobody is good at everything. Nobody does everything anymore. So they really are specializing in certain things. Yeah. So why not recognize that and tell them that, hey, you're my diagnostic specialist. You're my electric specialist. So I think that Carm created this. This was his brainchild. I think it is brilliant. And hopefully over time, as we start to adopt that language, will really lift the entire industry.
Yeah, I can see that being helpful even in just putting out job ads. You're not looking for a mechanic or a technician, you are looking for an alignment specialist. It always makes you feel special when you can say, I do specialize in this,
right.
And that's the job for me.
I'm looking for a general service specialist. He's not an oil change guy, because if anybody is out there just slinging oil changes through anymore in a non-quick lube situation, really, please give me a call. We need to talk about that, because that is opportunity in a shop to find work and build your bench to go forward. And really that inspection process is important, and you don't just want somebody dropping oil and and filling it back up. You really want somebody that has the knowledge and the skill set to be able to look over and find failing or worn components or any challenges that the client might be looking forward to in the future. So they are a general service specialist.
So, I want to go back a little bit. We talked about how really, the technicians, the specialists are working so much with computers these days. You are, you're looking for the same candidates Google and everybody else is. And so with that technology, with computers comes information. And you can probably see where I'm going with this here. So, obviously right now, Congress is looking at H.R. 906, the Repair Act. Can you tell us a bit more? You recently went and testified about this. Can you tell us a bit about that story, how you got into, what led you to that testifying and why you did that?
Funny you should ask. So it was, believe it or not, it was almost a year ago that I did that. It was early October last year that I was, or the end of September or so, I was in DC for Fall Leadership Days and the Visit on the Hill, and knew nothing about politics, and we were at an event where we were chatting with any of the Congress people and their staffers, and what have you. And I was sitting in a corner, which is very rare for me, sitting in a corner, and they kind of herded me over to speak to Bill Hanvey and Mark Bogdansky and Lisa Fouché, and they were like, hey, so next week we have this opportunity. And it's testifying in front of the Energy and Commerce Subcommittee for the House of Representatives side, and would you be willing to do it? And I was like, I have no idea why you would ask me to do it, but sure, I'll do it. I don't know what I'm saying yes to, but of course. And so luckily I got that education, and I know about the challenges within my shop, but I have to tell you, even as somebody connected, I was unaware of the real fight that HR 906 is representing for not just me, but all of the aftermarket. And then once I really realized that, there was no reason for me to say no. So while we were actually in DC, my shop called and said, hey, we have to pay this, it's only $50, but $50 times 8 manufacturers times, I'm a pretty successful shop. I have money in the bank to be able to do that. Not everybody is that way. HR 906 is fighting for them too. So we have to pay just to access to be able to read codes in a computer and dig a little deeper. I mean, it's 50 here, it's 500 there, it's 5,000 next. How much more? Just to be able to access repair and maintenance data. I don't want to know how fast you go. I mean, maybe if we've really got to dig into something with yaw sensors or whatever, but I don't need to know how much you weigh unless I'm working on your airbags. Like some systems, but I don't need your GPS data. I don't want it, frankly. I don't want to know any of your personal data. I have all the personal data I need from you, your name, address, phone number, and email. It's all I need, because I need to be able to market to you. Let's be honest, that's all I need. I don't care where you shop, what you do, or how often you stop at Starbucks, or what your order is, or any of those things that your car is collecting all of that data and sending it back. I don't need access to that. I just want to fix your car safely and professionally. So HR 906, the critical reason that we want it through legislation is because right now we have a memorandum of understanding, which is basically a piece of paper and a handshake that says, yeah, we're going to participate. So I haven't worked on European cars in 10 years because they don't participate this much. Some of the other manufacturers in the US are starting to follow suit. They're limiting what we can have access to without buying their scan tool and paying yet another fee. Again, if you're a giant shop and you're going to specialize in Honda, Toyota, Chrysler, whatever you choose, Chevy or whatever, you'll buy that tool. But to buy all of them, that is a huge barrier to entry to somebody in a small town in Iowa with a 2-bay shop and 1 technician. They aren't generating enough revenue to be able to pay $18,000 a year in technology fees. So, and nor can they charge their client that kind of fee. You can't recover it. So what does that mean? That means all those shops, the mom and pops, the little tiny businesses that are just doing enough to make it by, pay their bills, right? They're taking care of their communities. They don't have access to information if suddenly one of those manufacturers says, yeah, we don't want to play anymore. And they walk away from the MOU because it's a memorandum of understanding. They can leave anytime.
It's not a binding agreement.
It's not. So if it was, and we agree, the MOU and what HR 906 is, they're pretty close with what they say, but the difference is that HR 906 requires manufacturers to share the data. It's not free, but it requires them to share the data equally as they would with a dealership to maintain competitiveness, and really think if 20%, we own 70% of the service base in the aftermarket, 20% of that disappears, think of how long you're going to wait to go to a dealership to get your car serviced. They can't handle the volume now. My local Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep dealer is 6 weeks out, and we're off season. right? So what's that going to do if we all close? So why do I fight for that? Because I want to make sure that the one bay shops still have the ability to access the data, just like me, dealer, and everybody. And it needs to be a law. And more people need to know about it, because so many shop owners have no idea. And consumers don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's, it might be making the media rounds within the automotive aftermarket, the automotive circles, but not quite so much within just general media.
Yeah, and there's a giant push right now that makes sense. Like before Congress shifts again, and we kind of have to start the push with all the new people and educate, because there's always turnover, right? To really get them to look at this now. So going on, sending a letter to your local politicians is more critical right now than it ever was. Because we really need them to look at this before the next group come in, and we have to kind of start the fight all over.
All right, so speaking of education, tell me a little bit more about this coaching and this teaching you're doing.
So, girl, I love sharing my information, obviously. I have been a client of Repair Shop of Tomorrow since 2016. I love the way that they teach people to work with what they have, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all system. It's we do marketing for you, which I think is fabulous, because that's a few things you don't have to think about, right? It's on kind of autopilot. Few things you still have to do yourself, but to personalize things. But more importantly, the coaching part of it. So we look at your key performance indicator numbers, right? There's top 10, everybody knows what they are. We all take care of it. Many of us, when I first started out, you know your KPIs? Of course I know my KPIs. Didn't even know what that meant. What's your ELR, your effective labor rate, ARO, and all these acronyms, right? And I'm like, sure. And I'm like slowly writing, I Googled them all. Like, I don't want to look like an idiot, right? So if I, as a female who's learned to ask for help in the industry, didn't want to look like an idiot, what does everybody else think when they go to these places, or they're watching videos or listening to podcasts? I want to teach the basics, and I want to teach people to be successful without ripping people off. There is plenty of money, plenty of clients, plenty of service and happiness. You can employ more people. You can make a giant impact in your community if you do business right. And you can also make money. I'm not knitting my bedspread together with $100 bills. Some of my technicians make more money than I do, as they should. They work harder than I do. But so to be able to give that back, teach it, coach it, and help lift the industry, again, that's my legacy. Like, that's what I want somebody to do. I want to do for somebody what somebody did for me, which is reach out and offer to guide me and teach me and show me. It's not free, because I paid thousands of dollars for this knowledge. But I want to teach you faster than I learned. So hopefully that's what the legacy of the shop becomes. But so being a coach was a natural piece of that. I would also love to teach more classes. I mean, I say that as I really don't have one under my belt yet. So what's it going to be like to jump in front of, 100 or 200 people, or 3 people? I don't know. We'll see what happens. What's that going to be like? I don't know what to say, but I'm one of the people that would rather deliver the eulogy than be in the box. So I want to use that skill set and the gift, because why wouldn't I? There's so many people that don't want it. If I have it, I should share it. And if I can elevate other people and help them be better versions and be less anxiety ridden, because they're actually able to pay their bills without like sweating it every month like I used to. For me, that's a huge passion. I want to help other people get where I got. So I'm one of their coaches, and I gladly am under their umbrella. And we have a team of coaches that, different personalities. And that's one tip. If you find a coach that you're not really jiving with, talk to, the company. You might like the company, but not really jive with the coach. It's critical. Interview the person that's going to coach you. Because if you don't like me, you don't like the tone of my voice, whatever it is, you're never, ever, ever going to learn from me. It has to be a friendship. It has to be a partnership. So keep interviewing until you find the right one. But no, I work for them because I believe in everything that they do. And I'm still a client, right? I'm a coach, but I'm also coached on a regular basis, right? My coach is Dave Justice, and when my shop or me are in the way, how do you think I came to that knowledge? When I get in the way of my shop, sometimes I can't see it. So that's what you pay a coach for, is to tell you that 30,000 foot view, like, hey, get out of the way of the people that you've hired to do this. So, or this is what you need to focus on, or that, because you get lost sometimes in the forest.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what do you feel the future of the industry looks like?
So I'm a ray of sunshine all the time, silver lining kind of person. I think that right now I think we're at an all-time high for aftermarket. You know what, the average age of cars and light trucks on the market is like 12.3 years or something. My experience, it hovers around 9. So for it to be, so for it to be that high right now, it concerns me, because that means the dealers aren't selling cars. So we've come out of COVID where we had chip shortages and all of those things, but if they're not selling cars and not making money, what are they going to do to fix that? So, and whatever they do is going to directly affect us in 4 years, right? That's 4 to 5 years, that's how it's always gonna happen. So what are we doing right? I think that we are staying on technology. We should continue to fight for HR 906 and really maintain our progress towards professionalism. We're a professional industry that I never thought 30 years ago that I would be in an industry that I passionately love. And if you told me it was this one, I would have laughed directly in your face. What did I think I was going to do for a living? Zero clue. But this definitely was not on the top 300 list. So, but we're doing such a good job at making this a beautiful, lucrative, happy place to be. And I think that we're doing that right. We have room for improvement, but I think we need to continue on that track.
In the words of President John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Kathleen Callahan answered that call. But she didn't just give a testimony to the House of Representatives. She is a testimony of the tenacity it takes to be a female shop owner. Of course, she's not only standing up as a take charge icon for women in the industry, but for all automotive repairers. And that's what makes her a vehicle care rock star.
Making my connection as I